Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Naresh Mago, and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches global initiative Lifestyle for Environment Life Movement, calls for human-centric and collective efforts that further sustainable development. Prime Minister expresses hope that life movement will secure future for coming generations and asks people to follow principle of reuse, reduce and recycle. Western nations are exploiting more resources of Earth and are responsible for largest carbon emissions, says Prime Minister, addresses program on Save Soil movement in New Delhi on World Environment Day. States, union territories and urban local bodies across the country kickstart campaigns to make country free of single-use plastic. BJP suspends Nupur Sharma and expels Naveen Jindal for their remarks against a particular community, says party respects all religions. Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Mansukh Mandavia inaugurates food laboratory of FSSAI at Raxaul in Bihar. At least 37 people killed and over 400 injured in a fire at a container depot in Bangladesh. And in French Open tennis, title clash between Rafael Nadal and Casper Ruud of men's singles underway. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the challenges of planet Earth are well known to all, and the need of the hour is human-centric collective efforts and robust action that further sustainable development. Launching a global initiative, Lifestyle for the Environment Life Movement, on the occasion of World Environment Day today, through video conferencing, Mr. Modi said, "The vision of life is to live a lifestyle that is in tune with our planet and does not harm it, and those who live such a lifestyle are called pro-planet people."
At every level, let us encourage innovators focusing on the sustainable development. Technology can be a great supporter to achieve this. When tradition and technology meet, the vision of life will be taken further. I especially urge those in the academic world, researchers, and our dynamic startups to think about this.
He said Mission Life borrows from the past, operates in the present, and focuses on the future. The Prime Minister said, reduce, reuse, and recycle are the concepts woven in our life, and circular economy has been an integral part of our culture and lifestyle.
We should also be open to sharing our best practices with others and learning from the successful practices of others. Mahatma Gandhi talked about a zero carbon lifestyle. In our daily life choices, let us pick the most sustainable options. Let us follow the principle of reuse, reduce and recycle. Our planet is one, but our efforts have to be many. One earth, many efforts.
Mr. Modi said Mahatma Gandhi talked about a zero-carbon lifestyle, and in daily life choices, the most sustainable options should be picked. He called upon people to follow the principle of reuse, reduce and recycle. The Prime Minister said, our planet is one, but our efforts have to be many. He hopes that life movement will secure the future for the coming generations. The launch initiated Life Global Call for Papers, invited ideas and suggestions from academics, universities and research institutions, etc., to influence and persuade individuals, communities and organizations across the world to adopt an environment-conscious lifestyle. The idea of life was introduced by the Prime Minister during the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the parties COP26 in Glasgow last year. The idea promotes an environment-conscious lifestyle that focuses on mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. Union Minister for Environment, Forests and Climate Change Bhupendra Yadav and Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant were present on the occasion. Speaking at the event, Mr. Bill Gates said that he was inspired by India's leadership and efforts to curb rising emissions.
I congratulate Prime Minister Modi for taking the lead on this global initiative of citizen action to promote pro-climate behaviors. Together, we can build a green industrial revolution, one that stops climate change, protects vulnerable communities, and puts the world on a path to progress.
UNEP Global Head Ms. Inger Anderson also spoke on the occasion and welcomed the launch of LIFE by the Prime Minister. She said with more than 1 billion people and home to a thriving generation of innovation and entrepreneurship, India is central to global environmental action.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India's efforts to protect the environment have been multifaceted even though the country's role in climate change is negligible. The Prime Minister was addressing a program on Save Soil Movement in New Delhi on the occasion of World Environment Day today. He said the developed Western nations are not only exploiting more and more resources of the earth, but also responsible for the largest carbon emissions.
कार्बन एमिशन का ग्लोबल औसत प्रति व्यक्ति 4 टन का है, जबकि भारत में प्रति व्यक्ति कार्बन फुटप्रिंट प्रतिवर्ष आधे टन के आसपास ही है। बावजूद इसके भारत पर्यावरण की दिशा में एक होलिस्टिक अप्रोच के साथ न केवल देश के भीतर बल्कि वैश्विक समुदाय के साथ भी जुड़ करके काम कर रहा है। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भारत ने कोएलिशन फॉर डिजास्टर रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर CDRI, पिछले वर्ष भारत ने ये भी संकल्प लिया है कि भारत 2070 तक नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा।
Mr. Modi said India has achieved 10% ethanol blending in petrol 5 months ahead of its target.
आज भारत ने पेट्रोल में 10% इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग के लक्ष्य को प्राप्त कर लिया है। आपको ये जानकर भी गर्व की अनुभूति होगी कि भारत इस लक्ष्य पर तय समय से 5 महीने पहले पहुंच गया है। ये उपलब्धि कितनी बड़ी है, इसका अंदाजा आप इसी से लगा सकते हैं कि साल 2014 में भारत में सिर्फ 1.5% इथेनॉल की पेट्रोल में ब्लेंडिंग होती थी।
The Prime Minister said earlier farmers were not aware of soil health, and to overcome this problem, a huge campaign was launched to give soil health cards to them. Mr. Modi said that the government has also announced that natural farming along the Ganga River corridor will be promoted. The Prime Minister also said India's forest cover grew by over 20,000 square kilometers in last 8 years.
बीते 8 वर्षों में भारत ने अपना जो फॉरेस्ट कवर 20,000 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर से ज्यादा बढ़ाया है, उसमें ये और मदद करेगा। साथियों, भारत आज बायोडायवर्सिटी और वाइल्ड लाइफ से जुड़ी जिन नीतियों पर चल रहा है, उसने वन्य जीवों की संख्या में भी रिकॉर्ड वृद्धि की है। आज चाहे टाइगर हो, लायन हो, लेपर्ड हो या फिर एलिफेंट, सभी की संख्या देश में बढ़ रही है।
The World Environment Day is observed every year on 5th of June to raise global awareness to take positive environmental action to protect nature and the planet Earth. The theme of this year's World Environment Day is Only One Earth. States, union territories and urban local bodies across the country are swinging into campaign mode to make the country free of single-use plastic. They will also contribute to improve the environment under the overarching mandate of clean and green. This comes on the heels of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Mann Ki Baat address last month, where he exhorted citizens to join together and make efforts for cleanliness and tree plantation on the occasion of World Environment Day. Given the dual mandate of World Environment Day and India's commitment to ban single-use plastic by this month, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has issued a detailed advisory to states and union territories to take up a range of activities in this direction.
President Ramnath Kovind inaugurated Sant Kabir Academy and Research Center at Sant Kabir Nagar in Uttar Pradesh today. Speaking on the occasion, President Kovind said, "The life of the great poet and saint of the Bhakti movement, Sant Kabir, is an epitome of human virtue, and his teachings are still relevant today, even after 650 years. He described Kabir's life as an ideal example of communal harmony.
ज्ञान को उन्होंने पहले स्वयं जांचा परखा, आत्मसात किया और सब लोगों के सामने प्रकट किया। इसीलिए आज लगभग 650 वर्ष गुजर जाने के बाद भी उनकी शिक्षाएं जनसाधारण से लेकर बुद्धिजीवी वर्ग में एक समान लोकप्रिय है। ऐसी मान्यता है कि कबीर साहब ने बंगाल से लेकर पंजाब, राजस्थान और गुजरात तक की भी यात्राएं की थी। वे भारत से बाहर ईरान और बल्ख भी गए।
Earlier in the day, President Kovind paid homage to the great poet at his Samadhi Sthal in Maghar on the third day of his visit to Uttar Pradesh today. The efforts of the Modi government for Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat have brought the Indian manufacturing industry to the center stage. In the last 8 years, the government has taken several steps to take the manufacturing sector of the country to new heights. To aid our country out of the coronavirus crisis, the Prime Minister had announced a 20 lakh crore rupee economic package under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan during the pandemic. To support the ambition of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, production-linked incentive PLI schemes were announced in March 2020 with an outlay of 1,97,000 crore rupees to create national manufacturing champions, attract large investments, and to create 60 lakh new jobs. More details from our correspondent.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Make in India, Make for World and Atmanirbhar Bharat has given an impetus to the economy of the country at greater level. PLI is one of the major instruments to support Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. It is a sum of government incentives that are directly linked to manufacturing performance. The more goods companies manufacture in India, the better incentives they will get. We talked to economy analyst Professor Yamini Agarwal about PLI, who said PLI schemes have paved the way for taking forward the economic activities of the country and increase production.
Strong and radical reforms which have changed the path of growth in the economy, right from demonetization to GST to bringing about a huge amount of investments in the infrastructure, bringing about vocal for local calls, and also introducing the PLI schemes which are likely to create a production base of about 504 billion and an employment of about 1 crore plus.
PLI schemes, while supporting domestic manufacturing, on the other hand, it is helping to cut down the import bills. Apart from inviting foreign companies in India, the scheme is encouraging local companies to set up and expand existing manufacturing units. With Sanjeev Kumar Singh, Sanjeev Jasotia for All India Radio.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the national portal for credit-linked government schemes, Jan Samarth portal, in New Delhi tomorrow. It is a one-stop digital portal linking government credit schemes. The portal is also a first-of-its-kind platform which directly connects beneficiaries to lenders. Mr. Modi will inaugurate the iconic week celebrations of the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. This week is being celebrated as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav from 6th to 11th June.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches global initiative Lifestyle for Environment, Life Movement, calls for human-centric and collective efforts that further sustainable development. Prime Minister expresses hope that Life Movement will secure future for coming generations and asks people to follow principle of reuse, reduce and recycle. Western nations are exploiting more resources of Earth and are responsible for largest carbon emissions, says Prime Minister, addresses program on Save Soil movement in New Delhi on World Environment Day. States, union territories and urban local bodies across the country kickstart campaigns to make country free of single-use plastic. BJP suspends Nupur Sharma and expels Naveen Jindal for their remarks against a particular community, says party respects all religions. Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Mansukh Mandaviya inaugurates food laboratory of FSSAI at Roxaul in Bihar. At least 37 people killed and over 400 injured in a fire at container depot in Bangladesh. And in French Open tennis, title clash between Rafael Nadal and Casper Ruud of men's singles underway. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
गरीबों का परिवार भारत सरकार। देश के 9 करोड़ 17 लाख घरों को मिला गैस कनेक्शन, 2 करोड़ 60 लाख घरों को मिले बिजली कनेक्शन, 9 करोड़ 50 लाख से अधिक घरों तक पहुंचा नल से जल।
दुख दर्द को बहुत निकट से अनुभव किया है, एक परिवार के सदस्य के रूप में काम कर रहा है।
8 साल सेवा, सुशासन, गरीब कल्याण।
The BJP today took action against two party leaders over their controversial remarks against a particular community. The party suspended spokesperson Nupur Sharma and expelled Delhi unit media head Naveen Jindal from the party. Member Secretary of Central Disciplinary Committee of the party, Om Pathak, in a letter said, Ms. Sharma has expressed views contrary to the party's position on various matters, which is in clear violation of the constitution of the BJP. Delhi BJP Chief Adesh Gupta, in the expulsion letter issued to Mr. Jindal, said, through social media, Mr. Jindal has vitiated communal harmony, which is against the party's ideology. Earlier in the day, the party had asserted that it is strongly against any ideology that insults or demeans any sect or religion. BJP General Secretary Arun Singh said, the party does not promote such people or philosophy. In a statement, Mr. Singh said, the BJP respects all religions and strongly denounces insult of any religious personality. He added that during the thousands of years of the Indian history, every religion has blossomed and flourished. The BJP leader added that India's constitution gives the right to every citizen to practice any religion of their choice and to honor and respect every religion. The Ambassador of India in Qatar, Dr. Deepak Mittal, today had a meeting in the Foreign Office in Doha in which concerns were raised with regard to some offensive tweets by individuals in India denigrating the religious personality. The ambassador conveyed that the tweets do not in any manner reflect the views of the Government of India, and these are the views of fringe elements. The ambassador said, in line with the civilizational heritage and strong cultural traditions of unity in diversity, India accords the highest respect to all religions. He says strong action has already been taken against those who made the derogatory remarks.
BJP President JP Nadda today said that the number of people living below the poverty line in the country has decreased during the 8 years tenure of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mr. Nadda was addressing Dharti Aba Birsa Munda Vishwas rally organized by the BJP Scheduled Tribes Morcha at Morhabadi grounds in Ranchi. Mr. Nadda said that the number of people living below the poverty line in the country has come down from 22% to 10%, which include a large number of people from the tribal community. He said in the last 8 years under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the government has started many schemes like Ayushman Bharat Health Insurance, PM Awas Yojana and Swachh Bharat Mission for the poorer and marginalized sections of the society. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya today inaugurated the National Food Laboratory of FSSAI at Raxaul in Bihar. This laboratory has been established under Indo-Nepal bilateral agreement to reduce the time in testing of imported food samples brought to Raxaul from Nepal. Earlier, all the imported samples having legal sanctity were sent to National Food Laboratory in Kolkata for testing. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Mandaviya said the exporters from Nepal will find it easier to send more food products into India after the inauguration of Food Testing Laboratory in Raxaul. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Maulvi Ahmadullah Shah, who participated in the First War of Independence in 1857. A resident of Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh, Shah played a prominent part in organizing the independence activists and fought against the British forces at Faizabad, Lucknow and several other places in the Awadh region.
Under Shah's command, the independence activists inflicted heavy losses on the British Army, and the company Raj declared a reward of 50,000 rupees for his capture. Repulsed from Shahjahanpur, he appeared on the 5th of June 1858 near Awadh-Rohilkhand border. He was shot dead near Awadh-Rohilkhand border by the British Allied forces on the 5th of June 1858. The brutal British forces cut off his head and sent it to the British officials at Shahjahanpur for exhibiting it at the Kotwali. Even his body was burned and the ashes were thrown into the river. AIR News pays tributes to the great freedom fighter Maulvi Ahmadullah Shah.
We pay tributes to Manipuri freedom fighter Thoding, who was martyred on 5th of June 1875. A resident of village Rakmanpara, the Garo Hills, Meghalaya, Thoding took part in the last Garo resistance movement of 1875 against the British Army.
Thoding, along with other Garo warriors, fought continuously for 3 weeks to resist the British occupation, but was captured by the English army from the battlefield. Thoding was tried and sentenced to death. The brave Manipuri fighter was executed at Tura on the 5th of June 1875. We salute the great son of the soil.
বিধির বাঁধন কাটবে তুমি এমন শক্তিমান তুমি কি এমনি শক্তিমান আমাদের ভাঙা গড়া তোমার হাতে এমন অভিমান তোমাদের এমনি অভিমান.
We also remember revolutionary freedom fighter Harendra Lal Chakrabarti, who was martyred on the 5th of June 1934. A resident of Chittagong, now in Bangladesh, Harendra Lal was involved in the Chittagong youth movement and participated in revolutionary activities.
Harendra Lal was involved in a bomb attack on Peter Cleary, the superintendent of police of Chittagong, at the Paltan Maidan. When the attack failed and 2 young revolutionaries were killed in the firing by the orderlies of the officer, Harendranath, along with Krishna Kumar Chaudhary, attempted to throw multiple bombs at him. However, the bombs failed to explode. The duo escaped the firing from the orderlies but were apprehended later.
Harendra Lal was tried by the Special Tribunal and sentenced to death. The sentence was confirmed by the High Court on the 18th of April 1934, and Harendra Lal was executed on the 5th of June 1934 in Medinipur Central Jail. AIR News salutes the great revolutionary freedom fighter.
We also remember revolutionary freedom fighter Mrinal Kanti Roy Chaudhary, who died on the 5th of June 1932. A resident of Joshore Town, Kolkata, Mrinal was born in 1903 to Durga Roy Chaudhary. He was a member of the Anushilan Samiti and was arrested for revolutionary activities on 10th of October 1930. He died during internment on 5th of June 1932 in the Devli Camp jail. We salute the great martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In Rajasthan, a male tiger, Kumbha, has died in Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Deputy Conservator of Forests Mahendra Sharma said that the forest personnel found the carcass of Kumbha in a drain near Salawat Ghati today. Kumbha, who was also known as T34 and was 16 years old, used to roam around in Kundal, Chidiko forest area of the Tiger Reserve. According to officials, after post-mortem, the body of the tiger was cremated in the presence of the Forest Department officials and administrative officers. Mr. Sharma said that marks of injuries were found on the neck, legs and tongue of the tiger. He expressed the possibility of the tiger having a fight with another male tiger. In the same tiger reserve, a female cub was found dead last month. In Uttarakhand, Char Dham and Hemkund Sahib Yatras are going on in full swing. Over 15 lakh devotees have visited Char Dham and Hemkund Sahib in the state since the commencement of the Yatra this year. More than 5 lakh pilgrims have worshipped in Badri Kedar Dham so far. Meanwhile, 136 pilgrims have died due to ill health.
The death toll in the inland container depot fire at Sitakund near the Chattogram port has risen to 37, with more bodies brought to the Chattogram Medical College and Hospital in the afternoon on Sunday. At least 5 firefighters are also included among the people who lost their lives during the devastating fire that started last night. No official figures are available about the number of injured, but various sources put the number between 300 to 400, including more than a dozen firemen and police personnel. The death toll is likely to rise as several of the people brought to the hospital at Chattogram are in a serious condition. In French Open tennis, Spaniard Rafael Nadal is now playing for his 14th singles title of the tournament against Casper Ruud of Norway at Court Philippe Chatrier. Nadal was leading with 6-3, 6-3 when reports last came in. 36-year-old Nadal, who is seeking to become oldest winner at Roland Garros, is yet to lose a final, while 8th seed Ruud is playing his first Slam final. In the semi-finals, Nadal defeated 3rd seed Alexander Zverev, who had to pull out due to an ankle injury, while Ruud came from a set down to beat Croatian Marin Cilic. In women's singles, world number 1 tennis player Iga Swiatek clinched this year's title, beating US teenager Coco Gauff at Paris last evening. The 21-year-old Polish player won her second Grand Slam title in straight sets 6-1, 6-3 over Gauff, who was making her first final appearance at the Clay Court Slam.
In news just in, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami, on the accident in which a bus carrying devotees from Madhya Pradesh fell into a gorge and many people have lost their lives. In a tweet, Mr. Shah said the local administration and SDRF teams are engaged in rescue work and the injured are being taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. He said that NDRF team is also reaching the spot soon. According to reports, a bus carrying 28 pilgrims from Panna district in Madhya Pradesh fell into a gorge near Damta in Uttarkashi district. Bodies of 6 people have been recovered, while 6 have been sent to the hospital that are injured. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launches global initiative Lifestyle for Environment, Life Movement, calls for human-centric and collective efforts that further sustainable development. Prime Minister expresses hope that Life Movement will secure future for coming generations and asks people to follow principle of reuse, reduce and recycle. Western nations are exploiting more resources of Earth and are responsible for the largest carbon emissions, says Prime Minister. Addresses program on Save Soil Movement in New Delhi on World Environment Day. States, union territories and urban local bodies across the country kickstart campaigns to make the country free of single-use plastic. BJP suspends Nupur Sharma and expels Naveen Jindal for their remarks against a particular community, says party respects all religions. Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Mansukh Mandavia inaugurates food laboratory of FSSAI at Raxaul in Bihar. At least 37 people killed and over 400 injured in a fire at a container depot in Bangladesh. And in French Open tennis, title clash between Rafael Nadal and Casper Ruud of men's singles underway. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website newsonair.gov.in and on News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.
गरीबों का परिवार भारत सरकार। देश के 9 करोड़ 17 लाख घरों को मिला गैस कनेक्शन, 2 करोड़ 60 लाख घरों को मिले बिजली कनेक्शन, 9 करोड़ 50 लाख से अधिक घरों तक पहुंचा नल से जल।
दुख दर्द को बहुत निकट से अनुभव किया, एक परिवार के सदस्य के रूप में काम कर रहा है।
8 साल सेवा, सुशासन, गरीब कल्याण।